Hi everyone, good afternoon from Vienna. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. Today is a special day as we have an amazing Svitlana Kalitsun with us as a negotiation trainer. And I'm very, very curious about what you do, how do you do, because the negotiations is something that everybody is like, have a different view, understanding, principle, or doesn't touch it at all. So I'm one of these person that is like very, don't know where to start and how to lead and how to go through the process. So first of all, welcome, Svitlana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, what you feel is common to many people. We are not trained to negotiate. We usually are not trained, really. It's not taught in schools. It's usually not taught at universities. And it's just a training that we get at work sometimes. But the majority of people don't like to negotiate, actually. That's what I can tell for sure. And this is actually the reason why I became a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like to negotiate myself. I was scared about that. And I actually had this training. I was a lawyer. I was negotiating with people and had this idea that someone would be negotiating way better than the others. So
Mm-hmm.
this got me to the idea that there is a training, there are studies about that, and this brought me to the US. So actually, I'm a US trained lawyer, no, Austrian trained lawyer, and all my education, like further education, is from the US. And what I do right now is teach people to negotiate around. So it's professionals, lawyers, people from medicine, management positions, everyone who's connecting many different positions and options and needs to talk to many different people throughout their professional life. So I teach them to negotiate, to create trusting relationships, to get better deals, to create better environment and communicate better.
Mm. So what do you personally then negotiate? Do you negotiate every single thing in your life? I had a very pleasant conversation with you before this when we arranged the call for this interview. So there was not much negotiation. So what do you negotiate? So where do you stop? So when does Svitlana stops negotiating?
Well, it's a common question. People often assume that if you are a negotiation trainer, then you like negotiate with everyone, and they just really expect me to do that. No, you know what? Negotiation training is my profession, so that's my specific mode that I'm doing when I'm professionally active. But in my private life, I do not negotiate. I would say I'm not a teacher. But this is also another side of the medal, I would say,
Mhm.
because we all are negotiating throughout the life. So negotiation is not just about salary, about the new business. It's not about the new client. It's about where do we go to dinner today, or what vacation are we going to take,
Mm.
or who's going to do the laundry, who's going down the trash if you bring it down to the little things. So of course, every single one of us is negotiating, because if you have two people wanting something from different perspectives, you already are in negotiation. So if
Mm.
you bring it down to the very basic, it's a part of our usual life. So it's actually a way of communicating.
I need to ask out of personal experience as well. So how to take away emotions uh,
Oh.
out of it. So how not to get emotional during the negotiation, or maybe it's good to be, but maybe later at the later stage, not at the early stage.
Oh, very good question. Emotional part is actually the favorite part of negotiations for me. And there are good emotions and bad emotions. So the good ones are helping yourself. It's being, if you think about your favorite colleague, or if you think about a friend that you're having a project with, it helps.
Mhm.
The good emotions, they help work with each other. You have this cushion of trust. You can work out difficult situations and still work together. But on the other side, there are negative
Mm.
emotions such as fear or anger,
Mm.
or someone feels pity, or there is egos involved, then it can be difficult, and the easiest thing can become very difficult in negotiations. So if you ask me how I deal with emotions, I actually trigger them too. I try to
Mm.
be friendly. I try to create rapport. I try to be the first one who's opening up to people and start a discussion. And if there are negative emotions, and there is this trick that I like very much, it comes from Harvard negotiation
Mhm.
techniques from this project. and it says separate people from problems.
Mhm.
So before you are going into the negotiating room, then you think that you think separately the problem about the problem and the people, and communicate, take care of people first. So create first a relationship to have something to fall back on if you need it, and then deal with the problem separately. Does it make
Mm.
sense to you?
It does, and then of course, then it triggers the next question, and the next question that I would like to ask you. Uh, from my experience, is like this negotiation. I'm the person that waits too long, you know. And there, because as you said, nobody teaches us. We don't talk about it, and then suddenly, so you finish the university, you start working, and then everybody's like, you're bombed with like, you should negotiate the salary, and there's the new quarter reviews, and there's the salary reviews, and so on. So, and then for me it was always like, okay, you know, how to start. The whole process is well unknown. There are some written rules, unwritten rules. You know, I usually you know, I did all the mistakes that by the book, just go unprepared and think, yeah, they know, or you know, waiting to the last moment, or not having the right place and the environment to negotiate. And so for me, it was just delaying. When I look back, it was lots of delaying as much as possible because it was so uncomfortable.
Mhm. Yeah, there are many reasons for that. And I would actually say that the first one is usually the lack of knowledge. Again, we are not trained in that. We often don't know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, the future is so unknown. You know what was in the past, but you don't know what is going to be in the future. And of course, the lives are busy and we've got our own things to do. The plates are full. So it's difficult. It really is difficult. So this is common. Don't feel like you're like that's a big problem of yourself. There are many people like that. And my suggestion would be to read at least around that. At least get someone to talk about that. At least get some information out of there, because there are a lot of books, there are a lot of blogs. We're writing a lot of tips and publishing everything
Mm,
for free in order just to start a conversation to prepare people. Because as long as you have the knowledge, then you will know, and then you will know what to do. And I have a little picture for you. I mean, if you want to cross Atlantic, let's put it this way, like you're Christopher Columbus, and you're trying to have a, yeah, you go on a journey. So the first thing you will do is actually to research, to prepare, to take the water with you, take people, take food, and then you can take the journey. So more or less negotiating, the hard
mm,
negotiator are more or less like that. So you've got to be prepared at some point. Something can happen. You never
yeah.
know what is happening in the Atlantic, and you will need to adjust. But if you have an idea, a clear goal, and if you do the preparation, if you take your people with you, if you have the structure, then you will succeed in
Mm,
most cases.
mm. Thank you. And the other thing is, of course, the patience, as you said, because I don't know the process well. So at least in my career earlier, and then it was like always, okay, so now we ask, then I wait for 2 weeks, then something happens or nothing happens, and there's no backup option, or the second, second option, third option. So it's a very, I would say try and error. At least it was in my case. And then the question is how much trial and error you can afford yourself, you know, until you get, you know, crazy about, yeah, I want that number to get that salary. I want that number.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also about persistence. So it's like we've got to prepare to hear a no, because if that's about the salary, especially in renegotiating the salary, if you're
Hmm.
negotiating in a new project, in a new contract, then it's easier. They
Yeah.
need you, and then you have the biggest power as soon as they give you an offer and you have not said yet. So that's like a very small amount of time, little amount of time, but you have the biggest power there. So all of the others who are listening right now, just think about it. Don't say yes exactly right now. Just let's give yourself a breather and sleep on it, and then negotiate further. But if you are in a project and you need to renegotiate your salary, that's when it gets harder,
Mm,
because the usual employment job is characterized by the hierarchy. So you have someone who's
mhm,
got the hierarchy, they are allowed to give you advices, and you've got to follow to that. So it's like
mm,
it's a factual thing. And it has a disadvantage, because in negotiation, usually you've got to be eye to eye, you've got to be on the same level of understanding, and that's what you need. So you have like this dissonance, and that's a difficult thing to deal with. But if you have the preparation, and if you talk about not just about the numbers, if you prepare your numbers, there are a few numbers to prepare, if you do the research, and also prepare to have to hear a no, because sometimes they just cannot give you the
Yeah.
numbers, but maybe they will give you some other things, such as better working hours, maybe a fitness studio membership, or maybe a new laptop, a new
Mm.
office, or even a rank, if that's higher and that's what you want, you might be more satisfied.
Mm. As I just remember now that I talked with the previous guest about the future of education. So I'm thinking about what is the future of negotiation. So there will be always need for negotiation, right?
Yes, I think so. I see negotiation as part of communication, and somehow, if you have the structure, maybe this is also replying to your first question of not knowing what is happening. If you have this clear structure in your life, if you know what to do, and Harvard negotiation principles,
Mhm.
by the way, gives you, I mean, that's a suggestion to the others to read the book. Um, but if you have the structure in your idea, that in your mind, then somehow negotiation becomes part of your communication. And there are not that many things to negotiate about anymore, because you already communicated beforehand, and you
Mhm.
can work with the others. So negotiation is not about me against you, like the big mahogany table, one person in front of the
Mm.
others. It's often just with each other. So therefore, negotiation can be pretty casual too, and that still is a way. So this brings me to the idea of, yes, I think negotiation are going to be more casual. I hope very much it's going to be
Mhm.
more it's going to be more clear to people. I'm working a lot on that, on
Yeah.
giving a lot of information out, and also educating people on that, because it's just part of our lives, it's part of our communication. Why not to do it prepared and in a way we want it?
Before we move to your weight, how did you come to Austria and what brought you to Austria? There's a last question about negotiation. Men or women, who is negotiating better? I have to ask. Or is there any, statistic that you can say, these seniors or juniors or middle management or European Americans are negotiating better?
Well, there are many statistics, but I need to answer your question with a very lawyer-ish answer. I'm sorry for that, but it depends. It depends. But let me just tell you that if a person is negotiating for himself or herself, then we are all doing a little bit worse than we are doing for someone else. And women outperform men here,
Yeah.
because just imagine, if you're a lioness and you're negotiating for your kids, you're going to get the best out of it.
Mhm.
And that's the beautiful example that I like to tell women, because yes, we have this power in ourselves, but as soon as we negotiate for ourselves, that's when we are getting way less, because that this is when all the stereotypes are kicking in of likability. I'm not going to be liked. I'm going to earn more than my husband. Ta-da! A
Yeah.
big thing, big issue, big stopper. I want to be liked by my colleagues, my boss. I don't want to trigger any negativeness, or I don't want them to look at my performances until now. So there are women just negotiate way less, because they have way more stereotypes to work with.
Mm. I've read that somewhere recently, and I was thinking about that. So next time when I negotiate, I will have to think about the family, the kids. So in putting myself in a different role. So it's basically changing the identity and then just negotiating for the family, if that helps in the first instance.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's an attitude. Just
yes.
try it out. Nothing will happen. You just flex your muscle a little bit.
Thank you so much for the tips. Coming back to your story to Austria. So you recently posted that when you moved to Austria and learning the German language, and that's how I got to know you a little bit more. So tell us to our viewers. So how did you move to Austria? What brought you here?
Well, I planned only for 2 or 3 years back then. I was very young, so I thought I would be studying in Vienna. I already had a personal connection because my mother was working and living in Vienna. She moved way before, and for me, it was the next logical step to study in Austria for as a first experience in Austria abroad, actually. So I thought I'll learn the language, just stay a few years, and then go somewhere else or go back. So going back to Ukraine. I'm
Mhm.
from Ukraine originally. Was the idea, and then I liked the city a lot. I didn't like the university, but I liked the city. I liked the people. I loved the idea that before Christmas everything's open up and it's fun time. There are many young people. There were, I mean, like right now still, and I was living in a dormitory. I had many friends. So it was the place to be. So therefore, I actually extended and like the first it took me 1 year to learn the language, and I was pretty quick in learning the language, so I passed all the
Mhm.
exams, applied for the university, and then I ended up in a business school where I couldn't understand much. I was not able to follow because this German was conversational, for example,
Yeah.
or you don't have this time to proceed, you don't have this time, especially if you are a foreigner. You don't have the time to write the exams. At the exam, it's a huge disadvantage because it just takes you a way longer to get throughout the sheet of examples that I give to
Yeah.
you. So you have automatically way less time to reply to everything. So like yeah, the first few years were not that successful, and I realized that I need to do something else, and I had a big yeah, a stop, and then I thought that I really want to do something out of my life, and yeah, I rediscovered my curiosity for law degrees for lawyers. I have to admit, I was very much influenced by Ellie McBeal and all the other movies. We don't have any lawyers in our family, and then I went to the university to listen to the lectures.
Mhm.
Obviously, you don't need to be a student if
Mm.
you want to listen to the lectures. I mean, it's just public,
Okay.
so you just go in. And I gave myself a semester. So really, it
Mm.
was a semester. I went to the university to this starting lecture 2 to 3 times. At 8 o'clock was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 o'clock. And I still remember sitting there. It was like it took me. I gave myself some time to realize. And just by the end of the semester, I realized it was a lecture on um, law and medicine. It was about cloning and about all the medical stuff that is going out there and all the regulations. So was this big thing when I thought, well, yeah, I want to do that.
And so you did that, and after that you worked where, and how did you end up being self-employed?
Mm. Well, it's a long journey. I never planned to be self-employed. Where did I work? I was lucky to get a job as a secretary in my second semester of the law school. So since then, I was always always had some jobs in legal departments and so on. So what is it? I mean, like the idea was just to yeah, support myself. I
Yeah.
was paying for all the education and living from that time, so it was important for me. What did I learn? Well, I had a couple of internships. I worked for law firms. I was lucky for that, like one of the actually the biggest one in Austria. That helped me a lot. I worked for other companies. I did an internship at the public prosecution office. It helped me a lot. Really, was one of the most important experiences in my life. Then banks. It was actually all kinds of jobs. It was not about planning a career. It was actually more about making living. I need to I need to admit that. And yes, after finishing law school, that was the most important move for myself. I thought, where is my value the highest? Because I was speaking English,
Mhm.
Russian, and German language. So I thought as a lawyer would be an asset. And then I looked for a job for a specific firm where that was working in Russian there.
Mhm.
So it was pretty good way of starting a career there.
Yeah, betting on your going on your strengths. Uh, Svitlana, so what would you say that were your major challenges when you moved to Austria? So what could you say? Was it the language, people, making the living, so paying for your expenses?
Mm. You know what? Making a living, no, because there are so many possibilities, especially for students. I
Mm.
mean, I babysat, I was house sitting, I was dog sitting. I had like a couple of funny jobs in tourism. I was, and also the law environment. At some points, I even had like three jobs at a time. It was like mingling with everything. It was fun time. Really, I loved it. And what was the hard? I think the language is pretty difficult to get it like to the level that you want to, because I mean, still now I still have some voice training in order to have my German in a good way. So because I do perform in German too. I would actually say the planning. That's what
Mhm.
many people underestimate. The whole planning, the
Yeah.
whole paperwork that you need to do is so much. And now you're laughing. Yeah, yeah. It's like right now I already forgot how many papers I needed to do to prepare every single time I need to reapply for my
Yeah.
visa.
Yes.
And it's a lot. It's just so much preparation. It's so much pressure on yourself just to do everything right throughout the year. I think many people underestimate that. And actually, I think I just be there and I'll apply. No, it's
Mm.
like half a year of preparation for moving somewhere. It's nothing. You've got to think like 2 3 years ahead and prepare right now for something that you're going to do in a year. If you want to
Mm.
plan something, it's sometimes 2 or 3 years. So
Mm.
definitely a long time thinking,
Yeah.
preparation, and
Yeah.
keeping your papers, not affairs, papers in order.
Agree with you. We are on our way to, to apply for the citizenship, and we went back through all the paper. It's insane. So it's just like getting more and more, it's piling up. And at some point you ask yourself, where was that paper? Where is this? Where is that? So it's yeah. And Austria loves paperwork and papers, bureaucracy, administration. So it's huge, even though some of the things are digitalized, or some things you can apply online nowadays, especially
Yeah.
after COVID. But still, you need to do a lot of work. Thank you for pointing that. So it's a big difference if you're not if for us foreigners and for people who are living here. My friends, they are not aware of it. It just feels like different world for them. The EMA 35, for instance, the notorious EMA 35, it's just for them it's just a building, or the name. For us is every one of us has a story to tell. So it's,
Yeah.
and usually very funny ones. Svitlana, so how about as well? I'm a very passionate about networking and mentoring. How about yourself? So how did you build up your network here, back in your home country, US? So what are your views on that?
Well, network is crucial. I do agree with you. It's you've got to have your network before you need it. But if you need your network right now, then start right now. Like
Yeah.
not tomorrow, not on Monday, not when you get thin or something, or you finish that degree. No, you've got to do it right now. And everything starts and ends with network. I would actually feel, because I mean I'm a negotiation trainer. I'm a communication trainer. It's a lot of communication. It's about people. So success comes from people, money comes from people,
Mhm.
everything that you get comes from people. So it just starts there. And my biggest advice for networking is not to look like, I mean, for me networking is one word for something that is bigger, and this is making friends. So what
Mm.
every single time I go out there, I'm just curious about people. I really am. I love people. I do think they're like diamonds, and every single one has got so many facets. So I'm just trying to figure out how many do you have. Just
Yeah.
shine on me with this and that one. And this is what brings people out there. And yeah, networking is about winning friends. It's about really trusting, making trusting connection. Also, just to being open to them, to be in touch with them, to yeah, to communicate in different ways, to connect, to share, to be authentic, to be yourself, and this is how it
Mm.
grows.
I agree. I agree. It's thinking about, as you said, beyond titles and companies that people are working in. It's about, creating that connection, and maybe it's hobbies, maybe it's the school that you went, or maybe it's just some interest that you have. It's bottom down. You have to win that first, before starting about big plans and asking for favors. So for people who are watching now and thinking about moving to Austria, is there anything else that we forgot to mention from your point of view, that how they could prepare their best way?
Prepare. Well, I would actually also suggest to be members of as many clubs as possible. Just become a member of a club. I do have a feeling that Austria works in the way that you've got to be a member and then it will trust you. So it's a kind of difficult to approach sometimes. And it's a closed society, unfortunately, I need to say, in most ways. But you can approach it by the club. So if you have an interest, like yourself said, just with the hobbies or something, then you just go there. For example, there is Toastmasters. It's a club for public speaking. Then you can meet friends. If you're interested in Rotary, that's a club for, I think it's for family members, and it's for supporting schools. Then you just go there. If you like martial arts, then you go to the club and become the club. If you like yachting and sailing, then you just go to the club. If you like, I don't know, knitting or something, then you just become the member, and this is how you make friends. So you'll have to start with the clubs and expand it from there.
Agree. So your experience goes with experience from others that I have interviewed so far, and they've done very similar approach. So they went to the immediately. So when they came here, so in parallel to learning the language, they started joining one or the other association. Some of them were passionate about TEDx. So I know that Caitlin was about the TEDx, so she went there. And back in the days when she moved to Vienna, she joined the volunteer team. She asked where she can support them, and so that's how she, grew her network, and then later on through the work and so on. So it's very important. So because it's at the end of the day, from my point of view as well, to be fully, happy and feel here like welcome and at home, and not just, professional. You have professional network, but you as well need, people to go for a coffee, or, for a walk, or I don't know, over the weekend to vineyards, or, do something else apart that, to feel that you're part of the community as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, you well said. So there are a couple of clubs, so go and find one or the other. Svitlana, thank you so much for being my guest today. So our guest today, thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise. My viewers, if you're not familiar with Svitlana's on LinkedIn and her posts, so she posts regularly on the topic of negotiation. So go and check it out. There's so much value in that, as she mentioned before. But before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, what are you reading, or is there a specific book or a podcast that you would recommend?
Think Again by Adam Grant. Amazing book. Highly recommended, really.
Okay, I haven't come to that one. I'm by a give and take from Adam Grant and the originals. So and this is the next one. Okay, heading to my list, heading to the reading list of the Making It in Austria. Thank you so much, Svitlana, and have a wonderful day. Hope to see you soon. And thank you everyone for watching, liking, subscribing. If you know someone who has a great story to share, so please let me know, write a comment, or send me a LinkedIn message. So have a wonderful day, and greetings from Vienna.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Svitlana. Thank you so much.